Hi everyone, today I'm going to read a book that's a little bit different than we've had before. It's this one. What do you think is different about this book from some of the other books that we've had in the past? Yeah, it's a non-fiction book. That means it's full of lots of bits of information. And this is actually a science book and it's called Habitats and Food Chains. And this links really nicely to the Key Stage 1's learning this week, all about habitats and mini beasts that live in our gardens and in the forests in our local area. So I thought we'd have a little look at this. Now this book's written by Ruth Owen. So let's see what information she's put in. And obviously with non-fiction books it starts with the contents page. But we're not going to do everything on the contents page because there's some bits in it that we don't really need to know. So we're going to start with what is a habitat. I'm sure you already know this, but I'm going to let you see what it says. What do a garden, a woodland and a desert have in common? They are all types of habitats. A habitat is a natural environment that is home to plants, animals and other living things. Can you see the cheeky mini bees hiding in there? The living things in a garden get what they need to live off from their habitat. This thrush is eating snails. It smashes open the snail shell on the patio. Here's another cheeky animal that comes to visit us in our gardens, the squirrel. Comes and ruins my bird feeders by nibbling at them so he can get to the seeds and the nuts that he likes. A garden habitat. You might not notice the soil in a garden, but without it the plants would have nowhere to grow. Plants take in water and nutrients from the soil through their roots. A lawn isn't just one plant. In a square of lawn this big, there are up to 10 individual lawn grass plants. Plants make food for energy inside their leaves, and to do this they need the air and the sunshine. It's clever, isn't it? They can make their own food from the air and the sunshine. Right, garden homes. Let's see who makes their home in our gardens. Beneath the lawn, the ants have dug a nest in the soil. I don't know about you, but every time I dig in my garden or I lift something up, there's always an ant or two or three or thousands underneath. And they live in big colonies, and these ants here have got their eggs and they're protecting them because that's what some of the jobs of the ants are, to protect the eggs. Some of the jobs of the ants are to protect the queen. Some of the jobs for the ants are to get the food, and some of them are to keep the nest tidy. So all the ants have a really important role to play in their colony. At night, slugs slither through the garden eating plants, but day by day they hide in the dark, damp places such as under the flower pots. We often see a slug, don't we, and go, ugh. We don't like it. We go and find them underneath logs and in really dark, damp places. They certainly like the dark and the damp rather than the hot and the dry. This hedgehog has made a nest under a garden shed. The sleepy animal is returning home after a night of hunting for slugs, snails and worms. That's what they like to eat. Hedgehogs are nocturnal. This means that they are active at night and they sleep during the day. Do you remember that word nocturnal? We've met that before. If you come out in the day, you also have a word. You're not called nocturnal, you're called diurnal. So if you come out during the day, you're a diurnal animal. Okay, food in our garden. Animals in a garden get the water and the food they need from their habitat, so from where they live. Birds feed on insects and seeds. Foxes hunt for mice, rabbits and other small animals. They also steal scraps of food from bird tables and dustbins. So what is a food chain? So everything eats everything else. So let's have a see what the food chain is. A food chain is a way to show what the plants and animals in a habitat eat. This is a garden food chain. Okay, the plants take the food from the sun. The snail eats the plant. The thrush, the bird, eats the snail. And the sparrowhawk, the big bird of prey, eats the thrush. So each one is linked together. And the arrows mean that they're eaten by. We say a plant is a producer because it produces its own food using sunlight. So all plants are the producers. Okay. An animal is a consumer because it eats or consumes the plants or other animals. Okay. So we've got the producer, which is the plants, and the consumer, which are the animals that eat the plants or the other animals. So down here, let's see, which one is the producer? Yep, the plant would be the producer. And what would eat the plant? The slug? And then what would eat the slug? We just heard about that. The hedgehog. And then what might eat the hedgehog? Yeah, the fox. I'm not sure I'd want to eat a hedgehog. It's a bit prickly. A woodland habitat. A woodland is a habitat where lots of trees grow closely together. In a woodland, you might spot these tree leaves. So there's some different leaves. Can you see that? Some different leaves down here. The beech, the oak, the horse chestnut, and a Scots pine. And they have like the needles on them. They often have pine cones on them too. Some woodlands have deciduous trees, such as oaks and beeches, that drop their leaves in autumn. So deciduous means that they drop their leaves. Evergreen means they don't drop their leaves and they have their leaves all year round. Some woodlands have evergreen trees, such as pine trees. Ferns and other small plants that like to live in damp, shady habitats grow on the woodland floor. So if you go to the forest, you'll notice that it's not just trees all really up high. You'll notice that there's things low down as well. Have a good look at that next time you go to the woods. Okay, we're back to who eats who. In a woodland, worms feed on the dead leaves that fall from the trees. Shrews, badgers, toads, birds and other woodland animals feed on the worms. If you're not sure what a shrew is, can you see that? They're tiny little creatures, little furry creatures, and they've got quite long noses. But they like to eat the worms like the hedgehogs do. Jays search for acorns, seeds and insects to eat. Jays are one of our really beautiful birds. They've got their beautiful colours on their wings. Tawny owls swoop through the trees hunting for shrews, mice, voles, rabbits and small birds. So we've got the plants, which are the producers. And we've got the worm that eats the plants. The shrew that eats the worm, and then the tawny owl that will come down and eat the shrew. So there you've got your little food chain. What would eat the owl? No, nothing. Nothing really big enough to eat the owl. So another woodland food chain. A woodland nest. Oh, look at those. A tawny owl lays her eggs in a hollow tree stump or a tree hole. Fluffy chicks called owlets hatch from the eggs. They wait in the nest for their parents to bring them small animals to eat. Now, I don't know about you, but I've got 3 nests around my garden. One actually in my roof. That's the starlings, and we can hear the babies chirping when they get their food. We've got the blackbirds in the bush down on the side, and we've got the pigeons nesting in the tree just outside. So it's really exciting to see that. So keep your eye open for nests and small birds. See how they're doing. You might spot this animal in the woodland. What do you think it is? I'm not sure we would have those in our woodlands. It's a caterpillar if you're not so sure. Have a think, what does a caterpillar turn into? It munches and munches and munches all the leaves and then it will turn into a beautiful butterfly. I'm not sure we have this variety in our country, but I might be wrong. I've never seen one. Have you? You might see this object on the ground in the woodland. What do you think that is? Doesn't look very nice. Can you see what it is? Hold it really close. Can you guess? It's an owl pellet. So when the owls eat, that's what comes out of them. And if you have a really good look inside there, you'll be able to see what they have eaten. If you're brave enough, obviously. Microhabitats. Within a large habitat, so like a forest, there are lots of small microhabitats. So you've got the moss here. This would be a microhabitat. This rotting tree stump is a microhabitat in a woodland. It's home to small animals and tiny plants such as moss. If you go to the forest, you'll see lots of little microhabitats, different places where the mini beasts and the other creatures might want to live. Millions of tiny animals called tardigrades may live in the moss on a tree stump. They feed on juices from the moss. Tardigrade. That's a new word for me. Didn't know that. This picture of a tardigrade was taken by a microscope. In real life, the little animal is less than 1 millimetre long. I'm not sure we'd be able to see those very well unless we looked really, really carefully when we were searching. Look a bit funny, don't they? And finally, a tree stump habitat. Look under a rotting log and you might see woodlice, centipedes, beetles and spiders. Woodlice feed on dead or rotting plants. Centipedes are fast-moving hunters that feed on woodlice and small insects. Now, did you know that a centipede is actually a carnivore? It eats the other small animals. It doesn't eat the plants. So down on the tree stump, we've got the rotting wood, which would be like the producer. Then the woodlouse eats the rotting wood. The centipede eats the woodlouse. And the mouse eats the centipede. You've got to be quick to catch a centipede. They're super fast. Okay, I hope you enjoyed our little investigation and our read into habitats and food chains. Go out and have a little look. Go out on a mini bees hunt. See if you can see any nests with some baby birds in. Watch the parents going in and out to feed them. My favourite time of the year. Lots of lovely things to see. Lots of lovely things to find. Have a great time. Let us know what you find. See you soon. Bye-bye.